everyone, it's Jenna. Welcome to another video. Today I'm bringing you a book tag, and this book tag is long overdue for me. I was tagged to do this last year by A Stitch in Time, and by the time I realized that I had been tagged, or by the time she told me I was tagged, it was way too late in like the middle of summer to do the spring cleaning book tag. So I'm doing it now, and then this year I was actually tagged also by Amy from AimeeReads. So thank you guys for tagging me, and let's just get on with it. The first question is, well, they're not really questions, they just kind of like match books to statements. But the first one is the struggle of getting started, a book or series that you have struggled to begin because of its size. And this one, I'm changing it to a book that I struggled to begin in the past because I have read it and finished it and loved it, as you probably know. And that is It by Stephen King. I read this in October of last year, and I really enjoyed it. I have a whole reading vlog about it. If you're interested, feel free to look that up. But this is a beast and a half, and it was worth it, I think. I know that some people think he's very long-winded, and I get that, but it worked for me, and I really enjoyed it. Next question is cleaning out the closet, a book or book series that you want to unhaul. I don't necessarily know if I want to unhaul this series, but I have been thinking about it for a while because I'm not sure if I'm ever going to pick it up again due to my not being crazy about the writing. And this is not the first book in this series, but it's the Left Behind series by Tim LaHaye and Jerry B. Jenkins. I read the first 6 books in this series when I was a freshman in college, I think. And I really enjoyed following what could potentially happen in the future. But I did not really enjoy the writing. I didn't think it was amazing in that, with that element. So I don't know, I may unhaul it, I may keep it. It's been sitting on my shelf for a really long time, and I don't know if I'll ever get to it or not. We'll see. Next one is Opening Windows and Letting Fresh Air In, a book that was refreshing. This book literally felt like a cool, fresh breath of air when I read it, and that is due in part to the setting of this book, and that is The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey. This takes place in Alaska in, I want to say, the 1920s, and you follow this family as they're struggling to conceive a child, and then this little girl appears in the woods, and they kind of take her in as their own little snow child, as you would find out if you read the book. And it was just a cool, fresh breath of air. I felt like I was in the middle of an Alaskan winter, an Alaskan fall season as the snowflakes are falling down, and you know that feeling you get when you breathe in just a really deep breath of really cold air? That's what reading this book felt like to me. Next up is a question that's a little bit gross in my opinion. It's washing out the sheet stains. A book you wish you could rewrite a certain scene in. I don't know if I really want to rewrite a scene in this book, but I do want to shorten it, and that is A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. I think this book was unnecessarily too long. I think it could have been edited down by at least 200, maybe even 300 pages. 300 might be pushing it a little bit, but it was so long, and I felt like hardly anything happened until the very end. And it could have been trimmed down. Actually, I think it could have been a duology rather than a trilogy, in my humble opinion. Next up is Throwing Out Unnecessary Knickknacks, a book in a series that you didn't feel was necessary. As much as it kind of pains me to say this, I'm going to mention the Wings of Fire series by Tui T. Sutherland. It's a middle grade fantasy series. And the first 5 books were so fun, so amazing. But after book 6, we got a second story arc, which is fine, but it's just not as good as the first story arc, and I think it could have been cut off after book 5. But it's still fun to read on, so I'm a little conflicted about that one. Next up is Polishing the Doorknobs, a book that had a clean finish, and this is one that I very recently read just a couple days ago, and that is The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw, I believe her last name is. And this book took me by surprise. You'll hear it more about it in a recent reads video that I have coming up, but I really, really enjoyed this book. It surprised me how much I enjoyed it. I almost didn't pick it up, but I'm really glad that I did. The setting was just, I wanted to live there. It was just dark and mysterious and magical in a dark way. I'll explain more in another video, but it was really good. And I think that the ending, going back to the clean finish thing, I think the ending was perfect. It was, I'm not gonna say any more because I don't want to spoil it, but it was perfect for what the story was. Next up is Reaching to Dust the Fan, a book that tried too hard to relay a certain message. And with this one, I don't know if I think this book tried too hard to relay a certain message, but I didn't quite understand what the message was supposed to be, and that is A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. I read this earlier on this year before I saw the new movie. I honestly didn't care for the book, really didn't care for the movie. I thought the movie was visually stunning, but that was about it. And of course the child actors I thought did a great job. But this is one book that the story just doesn't agree with me, and I find it just a little bit too odd, a little bit too out there for my taste. Next up is The Tiring Yet Satisfying Finish of Spring Cleaning, a book series that was tiring yet satisfying to get through. And I don't even know if I would consider this tiring to have gone through, but the 3 books in the trilogy are pretty long, so I'm just gonna say The Queen of the Tearling trilogy by Erica Johansson. This is one of my favorite series. I absolutely loved it. I know that the 3rd and final book in this series is a little bit controversial as to the ending and how people think it was handled, but it personally worked for me. I loved this series, and I think I pretty much whipped through it in 2 weeks, I think, all 3 books. And I read most of it with Brittany over at Brittany Freaking Reads. And we had a lot of fun reading this together. And yeah, it was tiring yet satisfying. And the last question is to tag 4 people that I want to do this tag, and I'm going to tag Robyn over at the Driftless Reader, Kelsey over at Hardback Haven. We miss you, Kelsey. We miss your videos. And Krista over at Books&Jams. Krista, I don't think that you've done this before. I looked back through and I didn't see it, but I feel like I've seen this from you. I can't remember. And April from Getting Hygge with It. I hope you ladies have a fun time doing this tag. It might be a little bit too late to do it. I know down here in Florida, we don't really have spring. We just kind of go straight from winter to full-on summer. But the weather outside is still relatively cool, so hopefully you guys are still in spring and this isn't too late for you. I hope you guys are having a great day, and thanks for watching. Bye.